Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or good evening. It's afternoon here in Bangkok. Welcome to In the Blue Corner. We've got your usual panelists, me, Joe Lutzer, all the way here in Bangkok. And in Melbourne, we have Mr.
Vince Lochisano here, back at headquarters.
Good old golden tonsils. How are you today, Vince?
Good, thanks, Joe, and nice to see you, mate. We discussed a few things on our first show of the year last year and made a few predictions, and some of them eventuated, didn't they, during the week?
Some of them have come true. Before we start, just want to say to people, I'd like to show the background, trolling it out. It's the new virtual background. For those of you who don't know where it is, hang your head in shame. It is, I'll still call it Princess Park, not Optus Oval or what MC Hammer Stadium or whatever they want to call it.
MC Hammer Stadium.
Well, there's the MC Hammer Stadium. Okay, we're going to have first.
MC Labour.
Yeah, whatever. Hello, Connor. Hello, Gina. Now, as you know, we are a big budget show. We have big dollars to throw around, and we have a big special guest. So, Vince, no expenses being spared. Though our viewers want the best, we get the best. So, coming to you all the way from my second bedroom, Rich Rashid. How are you, DJ Rash?
Mate, what an intro!
Richard
Thank you
Rash
so much.
Hussein, what a great get! I tell you what, I thought he was going to introduce the Prime Minister. I thought he was going to introduce the Prime Minister there for a second, but we've got you, Rash.
You want guests? We'll get you guests. No expense spared. Cost me all of one coffee.
I'm like part of the family, to be honest. I'm in your second bedroom, so.
What I want to know is what the hell are you doing in his bedroom?
Hey, Rash,
because of the echo.
Don't tell anyone that we spooned last night, all right? That's our secret.
We don't talk about things like that. What happens in Bangkok stays in Bangkok.
Yeah, that's it. What happens on tour stays on tour. So Vince said, Gina's saying hello, Rash.
Hey, guys.
So, as Vince alluded to at the beginning of the program, we pull no punches. Vince, tell us, what did you say last week?
Well, in relation to the AFLW topic, I guess you asked me, what do I think of this review? Has anything come out of the review? I think was the question. And I said, well, not yet, but if I was Daniel Harford, I'd be very, very nervous. I think it was the following day. The following day, the club came out with an announcement that Daniel Harford had been terminated, and that apparently the main reason for that was because what came out of the review was that they needed a full-time senior coach. Now, all of a sudden they've discovered that they need a full-time senior coach? I don't buy any of that rubbish. But anyway, he was terminated. A couple of days later, Brett Munro, the head of football for the women's program, he was also terminated. So the usual Carlton trend of claiming scapegoats has started. Some people are quite in favour of these decisions. I'm not saying I'm not saying I'm against those decisions because, quite frankly, maybe there were some changes required. The thing that annoys me is that changes are always made beneath board level, but they're never made at board level. The people responsible at board level for these programs are never made accountable. And in fact, in the case of Carlton, the board member responsible for this program was actually promoted to position of vice president within the board. And I just think that just shows you how hypocritical and pathetic double standards that exist at Carlton. But anyway, that's my view. So if anyone else has got a view on that, they can certainly express it by getting on our Facebook page or on YouTube.
Peter's expressed it very well. Every review, there's always a coach being sacked. Just standard, par for the course. Guys, we've even got royalty watching our show. Rocco.
Hey, Rocco.
On, man.
Rock.
Do you want the link, man?
Come on, man. Yeah, no, and don't forget, while we've got Rocco there, g'day, Rocco, we should mention, Joe, that the boys at the Jumper Punch are going to be starting their first full-on show on the Tuesday before the first game. But in leading up to that, there's going to be a few little snippets on a Tuesday night, starting this very Tuesday night, in fact, on the Blue Abroad channel. And they'll also have some interviews on their Jumper Punch channel. So if you haven't subscribed to the Jumper Punch channel, make sure you do that too. But 8 o'clock this Tuesday night, make sure you watch for the boys. They're having a bit of a chat.
Promoting another show.
Well, I just thought I'd mention it while
we're sharing the love, Vince. We share the love, man. Come on, man.
That's it.
No, so Rash, what have you got? I have another view on the AFLW stuff, but what have you got to say about this Daniel Harford letting go of him?
Much to say, to be honest, I'm not really into the AFLW at all. That's to be honest. Like I tried to do it first 1-2 years, and might have been honest.
Can't warm to it, Rash.
Just like the colours. That's it. The colours. That's it. So so I mean, it's hard to get into it. But the thing is, I mean, one thing I'm reading out of it without seeing both sides of the picture is that, again, if we think that things have been sorted, it doesn't seem like it. I mean, he's come out and he's said some scathing things about the club. I'm hoping that's not a reflection of the male side, but yeah, it's not.
Well,
great.
Daniel Harford certainly hit back when he was asked questions about this, and he basically accused the club of not taking the AFLW program very seriously, and that they didn't put enough resources into it, and all that sort of thing. So he's certainly left with his fists swinging. That's for sure. He's taken a few swings at them. So I think it was an inevitable result. I thought as soon as they announced that they were doing a review. I actually think they should have done this review at the same time as they did the men's review 18 months ago. I mean, why couldn't they have reviewed the women's department then? No. They only announced this review, about 3 or 4 months ago. So maybe not even that. But anyway, let's just say November roughly. I knew that Daniel Harford would have been skating on thin ice as soon as they announced it.
Can I ask you? Well, Rocco says we're all getting hoodwinked. Well, we know that. Does this, does this reflect all the players leaving the club that maybe they thought that the Carlton football team, or I'm going to say the Carlton Football Club, didn't take the women's program serious? Like we had some big name players come and go, so maybe, maybe that Daniel Harford is sort of right by saying that they didn't take the program serious. So I don't know. Is it important to take it serious? I guess so. But what reflection does it have on the club as a whole? What does it have on the supporters? What does it have on the men's team? Is the same problems happening with the men's team? I don't know.
It all points to one area, Joe. And to answer your question about why players leave a club en masse like they have with the AFLW team, it all points to culture. It all points to the culture of the club and the environment that they are experiencing at the club. And that's the reason why they're leaving. And, we've seen a number of top players leave the Carlton Football Club. If they all stayed, I dare say we would have won at least a flag or two by now. I won't go through the names now because I think we know most of them, but it really does point to the culture. And a lot of people think that because we made a few changes 18 months ago at board level and also at administration level and also in the football department itself with the senior coach going and a whole series of assistant coaches going, that all of a sudden everything was going to be fantastic. Well, if you've still got a bad culture stemming down from board level down, you're not going to fix the problems. And it still remains to be seen whether Carlton has addressed those cultural issues or not. Now, they've appointed a very good CEO in Brian Cook, or at least we assume he is. He's been there now for almost half of the time that he's going to be with us. He's only with us for 3 years. He's been there for a year and 4 months, roughly. So he's approaching the halfway mark, and we still haven't achieved anything in either men's or women's. So I'll be very interested to see what differences we can all see and feel and hear between now and when Brian Cook leaves, because if he doesn't address those cultural issues at the club, nothing's going to get better. Nothing.
Yeah, I guess that. Hang on. Gina's saying it should have been Carlton Football Club is a club run under the name, emblem representing both should have been done. Yeah, I was really surprised, like you, Vince, that they didn't do both at the same time. But I don't know that. I guess they have their reasons as to why, whether they take one more serious than the other. I just hope that it's not a reflection on, like you said, the culture in the men's team, and I just hope it doesn't. I'm like Rash. I don't really follow the AFLW. It's very hard here in Bangkok. We do get the games, but they're at really weird hours and stuff like that. I mean, I love the club. I don't care whether it's elephants playing in a Carlton jumper. I still like. I am a Carlton person through and through. I always have been. Always will be. I don't like seeing any Carlton team fail, whether it's Little League, men's, women's. I like to see them always successful. But, it leads me to the next point about now we've got, another injury. And I read in the paper, and I think you may have pointed it out, Vince, that Leo Sayers has called for an inquiry into the medical team. How many inquiries can you have? Wouldn't one have done everything? If you're reviewing the football club, wouldn't you have reviewed everything, not just, well, let's review this part, and then something
you
else
would think so.
Oh, let's review this part.
You would think so, Joe. And when they talk about a full department review, a full football department review, well, frankly, the medical department wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the fact that we play football. So, of course, it's got to come under that banner. And there should have been a review that included what's going on with our medical department and also our high performance department with people like Andrew Russell and what he's doing and maybe what might be leading to all of these injuries and season-ending injuries.
But,
I mean, accidents do happen. Yeah. We all know that, but nevertheless, it could also be a trend based on the nature of pre-season training that they're doing, and maybe, just maybe, something's not quite right with our pre-season training and how we're going about it, and that's leading to a lot of injuries that players are incurring even before the season starts.
But Gina's right. We've only got 2 injuries. Sam Walsh we knew about last year, and tearing an ACL is not. I don't think that's the medical or high performance training fault. I think that's just
luck.
No. I'm not necessarily saying the current injuries that we're looking at right now, but I'm just saying that when they reviewed the football department 18 months ago, when Luke Sayers first announced that he wanted a review, this is before he was even president, mind you. They should have reviewed that whole area as well, not just the players and the coaches and all that sort of thing. Because to me, it probably gives them away that the whole review thing was designed to achieve a particular aim. And they do say that you never call for a meeting unless you know what you want out of the meeting. Well, at Carlton, they never call for a review unless they already know the outcome of the review that they want. And what they've wanted all along is scapegoats and sackings. And every time we've had a review, it's led to sackings and scapegoats. Mind you, they never happen at the board level. It's always underneath that level.
Can I just say, not every review is supposed to be like that because it's an external review. So supposedly it's an external review. So reviews can come out, this is where we need to fix things, etc. Obviously, the coach, that's what's come out. But that's not from, supposedly that's come from the three guys that did the review for us 18 months ago. So it's an external review technically, but whether or not we believe the smoke, it's something else. But, but if you're constantly reviewing, that's not a bad thing, Vince. I think it's okay. This worked, this hasn't worked. Review.
Well,
and then
there should be reviews. There should be reviews. You're right, Rash. There should be reviews conducted on a regular basis after every season. I mean, it shouldn't be something that has to make the headlines in the newspaper. It should be something that's done as a matter of course every season, and everyone should be reviewed, and everyone's performance ought to be reviewed. I mean, it happens in workplaces everywhere. It shouldn't just be happening at our club whenever we think we're in a crisis. It should be happening on a regular basis all the time.
You should have it even after you win a flag. It's like it doesn't matter. You should be doing it every year. How do we constantly improve, get better?
Spot on.
Rash, I dream of winning a flag. Even from the
Well,
golf
we've seen
course.
one, boys. We've seen a few of them. So you know.
Well, anyway, it's bad news that we've
someone
obviously most of our viewers would have got the news that Zach Williams has done his ACL, and Sam Philp has also done a pretty serious injury on his foot. And
Is he?
Yes, so
how long
that adds to the Sam Walsh injury. So we're certainly going to be without those three players for the majority of this season, you would think.
You think so? Sam Walsh is he only out for the first month?
Well, I think it all depends on how quickly he recovers from this back surgery. So they've said at least the first month. Who knows, Rash? Who knows? And who knows if they have setbacks too, because we've had a few players that were meant to come back at certain times even last year, and then all of a sudden you get a report that, he's had a setback, he's out for another 10 weeks. So I wouldn't be assuming anything at the moment.
Yeah. Can I just say that Sam, the Phil guy, I mean, he's only played one game, so I don't think it's a big deal. But, and Zach Williams, I think we've got to, I mean, it's a half-backer, although he's a good player, it's just it's bad luck.
Yeah.
I mean, but we've got someone to
Well,
replace.
look, there will be an opportunity there for someone else, won't there?
Well, this is my point. You know, we've got young players; they need to stand up, such as Brodie Kemp, Lockie O'Brien, Paddy Dow. We can't continually keep having these players come in taking 4, 5, 6 years to develop, and then we only get 2, 3 years out of them. So I think we've got
on the
much deeper
halfback flank,
problems.
there's a lot of other options, Joe. I mean, you've got the option of bringing Sam Doherty back to the halfback line, because I think they were looking at maybe bringing him into the midfield. He may have to go back to halfback flank to cover for Zach Williams, or Caleb Marchbank, or Lockie Plowman, or Nick Newman, or Brodie Kemp. There's lots of other players that can step in, and that's the key to being a successful unit, is that if you've got one man out because of injury, another one steps up and fills that position and knows what to do within the game plan. And I think that's going to be the key to it. That if we have missing soldiers, yes, some of them are more valuable than others. They've got to come in and fill the role. That's what they've got to do.
I just put up a thing from a comment from Chris Riddle. I'd love to know who are the gay bar loiterers, slimpy wristers. Is he meaning Richmond? I don't know what that means.
I have no idea.
Chris,
I don't know.
Please. But I don't know about, we need to, I don't know about all this, we need to review the medical department. I just think that's a reaction. It's not proactive, right? And I just think we're not proactive. We're reactive. Good clubs are proactive, right?
That's true.
We seem to be reactive. Something happens, then we react. The women's team's no good, we call for an interview. We call for like a review. The men's team's no good, we call for external review. Someone gets injured, we call for another review. We have to be smarter than this. We have to be sort of more proactive and make sure that these things don't happen. And let's face it, football's a physical game. I know they're not physical at the moment, but we have to be aware that injuries are going to happen, right? If you want to call it a war, you do have attrition, and you need soldiers that are always ready, willing, and able to step up. And I don't see that at our club. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm just babbling or,
Well, Joe, I've got to say, I think that our list management department have done a fairly good job in filling the gaps in most areas with their recruiting decisions. And now if we have players that are injured, such as a Zach Williams on the half-back line, or if we have a a half forward that gets injured or a forward pocket that gets injured. We've got other players that can fill that void and fill that role. And that's the important thing. About the thinnest area, in my opinion, is the ruck. See, if something happens to Pitnet again, or if something happens to De Koning, that's where we're going to be lacking the most. And I mentioned this last week.
JSOS.
The one area, well, JSOS as a relief ruckman, he did a pretty good job last year, but that's not really why he's in the side. So
no, I know.
I really think that's the one area that we're lacking in the most, and that's our greatest weakness heading into this season, in my view. Anyway, I don't know what everyone else thinks.
Can I say?
I'll be interested to know.
Can I say? I think I was impressed with the guy Boyd. I think it was.
Yeah,
I reckon he's a good replacement for Zach. Williams.
Jordan
I think
Boyd.
He was. Yeah.
I think you might find he's also
good.
injured at the moment, Rash. I think he might be injured himself at the moment.
I think you might be talking about Lewis.
No,
I'm
talking about
I know he's injured.
Jordan Boyd. Number
he's
37.
a forward. He's not a defender. He's not a defender.
No, he's not.
He's
What are you talking about? Halfback flank,
backup,
even back pocket.
You read his bio.
He essentially took Liam Stocker's position in the team.
Yes.
He did that good a job, and his disposal efficiency was that much better than Liam Stocker's that's what prevented Stocker from getting a regular game. And in the end, they even delisted.
Jimmy raises a good point here. Zach Williams and Mitch McGowan both been paid big dollars. You can add Martin in there as well, right? And they just haven't performed. I think I was speaking to you, Vince, the other day. Mitch McGovern will have a blinder of a season this season. You know why? It's the last year.
Yeah, we mentioned it on last week's show, Joe.
Yeah, we'll get sucked in. We'll pay him the big dollars, and then next year he'll be a spud again. We fall for it all the time.
It's the last year of their contract. It's amazing how they play a blinder in the final year.
I'm really happy that this year we won't be hearing Joe talk about Jack Nunes this year. That's it. It's done. No more Jack Nunes.
Rob Galicio sent me that he's playing at another team, right? In the Diamond Valley or something. So maybe Rob can give us a weekly report on how Jack's going. Lana and Gina know how much I love Jack Nunes. I just hope that Blake Acres is not his twin in disguise. Because if he is, he's going to cop it.
No, I'm very confident you'll find that you'll be saying words like, thank God we got Blake Acres because we don't have to watch Jack Nunes anymore.
I can't even say that word. Yeah, remember Arthur Fonzarelli couldn't say that. So, sorry? Well, I can't even bring myself
wrong.
to say Jack.
I was
Jack. Oh, hang on.
Yes.
Jimmy's raised an interesting point here. Plowman going to have a big one. Oh, the poor Plow, he's much maligned. I hope he does, but is he in our best 22? Is he?
No. Lockie Plowman will be there more than anything as a backup in case we lose soldiers like Zach Williams or Caleb Marchbank or Mitch McGovern, and he can come in and play a role, and he's very experienced, and he's one of the few players that can actually play on opponents that are tall and short, whereas most of them haven't got that capability. So he may very well end up being a valuable backup player. I think you're right. He's probably not in our best 22, but how many weeks do you go in with your best 22, Joe?
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if Lockie Plowman does play a few games this year.
David has just made the best statement. Jack Nunes to be redrafted to replace Williams. No!
I think he was doing that a bit tongue-in-cheek somehow.
I know. Someone mentioned up the top here that we can put...
Yes, Peter Vlahos. Good to see Peter. I think he was saying Plowman is a break glass emergency player.
Yeah. We can put Williams on the long-term injury list, though, can't we? And draft someone else?
And recruit. Yes, we can.
Can we... So how does that work? Do they bring in someone who, do they just promote a rookie and then replace the rookie, or can you bring someone straight into the list? I'm be curious to know.
I think you can bring someone straight onto the list, Joe.
Maybe we should go get Gary Ablett Senior.
See, for example, Luke Parks, number 26, he was delisted at the end of last year, but then he was recruited onto the Carlton VFL list. They may very well invite him to come back. I don't know. I mean, they may have someone else in mind, but they will end up bringing in somebody to replace Williams on that long-term injury list.
What's this? Newman. Has this opened the door for Ed Curnow? Okay, I'm going to be quite hard here. I love Ed, and he's been a great, Carlton player, and he's been I guess what you want to say, a good clubman, but
a stalwart.
Aging, he's aging and slow, and I'm just hoping that that's not the future. I would rather play someone young. I mean, no disrespect to Ed, this is me personally. When we next win a premiership, is he going to be in your team as opposed to someone like a Brodie Kemp who is 19, 20, 21? I just think if we're going back to the well, I don't know.
Why do you think they gave him another 12-month contract, Joe?
To keep, someone's put it properly, probably to keep his brother in check.
That's a possibility.
Breaking news, as we said at the start, big show, big budget. I just want to introduce the librarian. How are you, Chris?
Great background, Joe. Reminds me of home.
Beachy. Beachy. I'm just looking at the background. Has there been a little paintwork done in that library?
No, I think it's just the light you're looking at tonight here, Joe. She's just looking at the writer.
Okay. Well, there's a few books missing. So have you been studying up for the day?
No, mate, I don't know what I've been doing, to be honest. I think it just might be how I'm positioned at the moment. But anyway, nonetheless, I'm in my usual spot, as Vince would call it, the back cave.
Don't you know that it's all a front, Joe? It's really that Chris Beach at night dresses up as Batman, and he's really, that library is really the Bat Cave in the middle of Gotham City. That's where he is right now.
I would have thought the Beachy would be more like the butler. What was his name?
Alfred.
Alfred. He knows all the secrets.
No.
Rocco,
the most famous library in the whole of Australia. That one there behind you, Beachy.
Gina just thinks we're crazy. Jimmy, anyone know if the club has done anything off season to make the players mentally tougher? Yeah, Jimmy, we sent them on the Adelaide camp.
Actually,
Ed Curnow?
that's Rash's forte, the mental side of sport and all that sort of thing, as well as business and employment. So, how about you address that question, Rash? You're the expert.
Well, I don't know if they've done anything. I've had chats with them before, so you're pretty aware of
what
that.
Can they do? What can they do to make them more mentally strong so that games like that Melbourne game in round 22 and Collingwood in round 23, those sorts of results don't happen again, where we've got a lead that should see us win the game and all of a sudden we give it up? That's mental. That's not physical, is it?
What they can do is create a mental training program. So your mental coach would come in and create an elite performance program for them that goes along with the training, the gym training, their diet, and that. So, and I can tell you first up, when Joe knows about this, when we're at the World Cup, for the FIFA World Cup in Qatar, they had a mental coach traveling with them with the Australian team. And I can tell you that we did pretty well this year. So it works. So what I understand at the moment is they don't have that as a program. Whilst if you see clubs like Richmond and Melbourne, they do.
Yeah.
Richmond have that Emma, whatever her name is. What's her name? Emma Murray or something? Emma Murray.
Murray.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we need to get Beachy down there. What do you think, Beachy?
I think we should get Rash down there. That's the person we
That's
need.
exactly what I was saying. You're putting me in out of my depth. Let's get the one into. Let's get the expert before into Rash.
Yeah, Connor.
Let's put in a call. Let's put in a call to Greg Williams. Rash, I reckon it's time he answered our phone calls.
I did hear our
Let's see if he answers my calls these days. Not sure he's answering my calls these days, Vince, to be honest. But anyway, an old friend, good old Diesel.
So okay. So we've discussed Beachy. We've discussed Daniel Harford and the women's team. Just going back, do you have anything to say? Okay, thanks, Beachy.
Can I just ask each one of you, what would be your doomsday scenario for our season this year? I mean, let's think about the first handful of games. Where do we need to be at in order to be on track for what we want to achieve this year? And can you see us, for example, beating Richmond in round 1 and Geelong in round 2, or is that just a pipe dream? And the other thing is, what if we, for example, hypothetically lose all 3 of our first 3 games, including GWS over there in Sydney?
Doesn't matter as long as we make the finals. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So if you lose the first 3, Rash, it puts you right behind the 8 ball, though, doesn't it?
Oh, sure.
Go, Beachy. You go first.
Go.
Okay. I'm going to try and address both questions at the same time here. So if I bang on a little too long, forgive me.
Yep.
So the first question was about Harford. And I think we've had this discussion before, and I think I'm going to reiterate the same point again. Yeah, okay. The AFL club meeting, Carlton, might not have focused on AFLW all that time. But here's the question I keep coming back to. Harford was coach when we lost all that talent. Davey, the Hosking twins, Presparkis. I could give you a whole list. So some of it has to go onto Harford. Some of it has to. You cannot avoid this. Now, as on Harford, on a completely sort of related-ish topic, I actually saw him play cricket yesterday, but that's different altogether. So I'll probably tell you guys that off air. And then for your question, Vince, doomsday scenario. When Rash is right, we've got to make finals. But if we're on the back foot, then what are we doing? Because if we go 0-4, then you're going to draw. Where's our first win coming from?
Well, I said the first 3 because I really think the 4th round one against North Melbourne, geez, they've been bottom of the ladder the last 2 years, and they're now rebuilding under Clarkson, but it's not going to happen overnight. You'd think that you should be able to win that one. I'm thinking more about the first 3. I mean, if you lose to Richmond and lose to Geelong, and then you go up to Sydney and all of a sudden GWS turns it on against you, it hasn't been a very happy hunting ground for us over the years.
No.
All of a sudden you're 0-3, and if you want to make the top 4, it's proven that you have to win at least 15 games. So you're down to 15 out of the last 19 games you got to win.
Yeah, but can I say, just last year is a perfect example. We started like a house on fire, and we were in the 8 until the last round, so it doesn't matter. In the end, I mean, we're going to get the pressure on, but in the end, I think what we need to expect is that we have to make finals. That is a given. If we don't, I think that'll be a failure for us. What do you think? Joe, agree?
If we're 0-3, right, going into round 4,
what does that do to them? What I'd like to know, I was having this chat with Rocco during the week, and I'd be interested to find out from Rash, but all of you, I guess. What do you think that does to the mental state of the players, the state of mind? Does that make them all of a sudden go into their shells and start protecting themselves in their own position and start to play selfishly, or do they ignore that and still play to the game plan?
They're all going to sit there and go, it's all about me. It's just a natural reaction. Go, Rash.
It is look, depending on the results and how you lose. This is number one first. Okay, if you're losing by a point and bad luck happens, then it's a bit different. If you're losing horribly, then they can definitely go into there. But if they're trained about resilience, and it's a long thing, it's a marathon, it's okay. It can actually build things from there. So it really depends on the perspective that the coach is putting towards them. I think that's the way I've been looking at it.
Okay.
But I can tell you now, Vince, if we're 0-3, I'd be packing the skis and getting the September holidays booked.
Straight to Bangkok.
Look, I personally I'm very optimistic. I'm not sure why, because we've lost 8 out of our last 12 games, and the last time we won a game of football was in July last year. But nevertheless, I think all of the signs are there, all of the logic, if you like, would suggest that we should be right up there this year with any sort of luck, dare I say, with injuries and with suspensions and things like that. So if we've got most of our team available for most of the year, I don't see any reason why we can't look forward to a top 4 position. But if we lose our first couple of games, I reckon that puts us right on the back foot. Those first couple are going to be crucial to our season.
I'm going to stop you there for a minute. I had this conversation with, and Rash will know who I'm talking about, Edge, because he's a Geelong supporter. And he said, he asked me the other night, where do you think Carlton will finish? And I said, look, I don't know. I think in the 8. And he said, who's going to drop out of the 8? Now, you're saying we're going to finish top 4, Vince. Who's going to drop out of the top 4? They're not going to be Geelong. Not going to be Richmond.
Could be.
Not going to be Brisbane.
Well, I don't think anyone's guaranteed anything, because every season starts differently. And there's always 1 or 2 teams that unexpectedly drop out. For example, take Port Adelaide last year. They finished top 4 in 2021. They even made a preliminary final, I think. We're even favourites to play in a grand final. But they got beaten by the Western Bulldogs on their own home ground. Now, they dropped out of the 8 altogether, and no one expected that at all. So it happens every year where someone drops out unexpectedly. And also, conversely, there's always a team that jumps up out of the bottom of the ladder and all of a sudden makes the top 8 and sometimes even top 4, e.g. Collingwood. Last year, second last on the ladder, 2021. Last year, top 4. Who would have thought? So even I think that, you know, there's teams like Fremantle had a good year last year. They've had a lot of players leave. They might drop out. You might find that I'm just trying to think who made those top 5 to 8 positions. Western Bulldogs. They might drop out, okay, because they've had a few changes on their list as well, and players leave. So, look, I don't think any team's guaranteed anything, but you'd think it would be unusual not to see Brisbane or Melbourne or Geelong or Richmond in there. So I think they're the 4 teams I think are the most likely to retain their positions. The other 4, nothing's guaranteed.
I think we could beat every one of those. What are they?
There's not one team. If Carlton's firing on all cylinders, there's not one team in the league we can't beat. Not one.
I agree.
But we've got to be mentally right, not just physically. We've got to be mentally right.
Okay. So we're winning the flag. Is that everyone's estimation?
No one's saying that, Joe. Stop putting words in our mouths.
Well,
but I do believe that Carlton supporters have waited 10 years now. All of the indicators would suggest that it is time. It is more than overdue now that we make at least the top 8. And if we really put it together properly, we have every chance of making top 4 if we can put it all together.
Okay, and I think the hurt from last year. Sorry, I was just saying, and I think the hurt from last year, those 2 games should drive them, because that if they've really made the change, they've got to do it this year. Otherwise, it's done.
Yeah, so I agree.
Here's the question, and I'm going to get Beachy to answer first. What happens if we don't make the 8?
What did we say before? Doomsday scenario, Beachy?
Give us the headline, Beach.
Okay. If we don't make the 4, then sorry, if we don't make the 8, rather, I should say, or top 4 or finals or whatever you want to predict. I actually went out a bit further and said premiership in 2023, but we'll put that to one side for the moment. What happens? I've got no idea. I honestly have absolutely no idea. Do we start a riot in the city? Do we decide to have
a review?
protest about something? Do we?
You took the words out of my mouth, Joe. Let's have another review.
Let's review the review.
Do we? Do we review everybody on the? Well, I'm not going to say it, but Vince knows exactly where I'm going with it. Look, on short answer, I don't know.
I'm surprised the club hasn't asked for a review of the supporters.
I think it all depends. I think it all depends on how much we've missed out on the finals. Like last year, let's be honest, we only missed out by about not even 1% on percentage. So if you just miss out, again, like Rash said, you'd like to think that they're going to use it as motivation to go at least a step better next year. But if we lose badly and we only win, for example, 7 or 8 games and we lose 15. Well, then it's really panic stations. I think they'll start to look for scapegoats again, Joe.
Yeah, Paul says, "Don't worry, we'll make the 8." Well, Vince just told us that nothing's a sure thing. So I'm just saying, I agree with Paul. We'll make the 8, but this team has been promising. Oh, we got young. Go back to Brendan Bolton. We got green shoots, and then we moved to Michael Voss, we're building. And then, if it falls apart, what this club's like. They'll probably sack Voss, right? But none of the board members will be touched. Well, they'll all wipe their hands and go,
of course not.
We're wrong coach, and it's the training program and the medical team, and not us, right? Well, we're doing a good job. We've made all our members, all our board members, rich with giving each other contracts. So
I think
one good job.
Go, Rash.
I think more than likely we should be making the finals with having a Brownlow medalist, common, another preseason, etc. With the new recruits. We should be and there's no guarantees. I agree, but if we don't, then it's an indictment. Like there's something else that's deeper. We'll make the changes. Depends on how bad it is, like what Vince was saying. So if we only won 4 to 6 games a year, I can tell you Michael Voss would be gone 100%. They wouldn't stick it out.
So Rash,
the team is good.
Rash is going early. If after round 12 we're 0 or 1-11 or 4-8, you think he'll be gone?
100%.
Oh, you've dropped out there, Rash, for a minute. You're right.
Look, I think there's a lot of what ifs going on here.
Can't hear you, Rash.
You're all glitchy.
You okay, Rash?
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah. Nah.
You need to get out of Joe's bedroom.
You need to open the door. I'll remove you for a minute.
All right.
Go, Vince.
Well, I think. Look, we're probably using up a lot of time here. Contemplating doomsday scenarios. It's highly unlikely, but while I'm still saying, and you're right, I'm still saying that nothing's guaranteed. I've also said that it is likely, and I'm very, very confident that we will produce a lot more wins this year, and we'll put it together a lot better, and we will use that pain of last year as motivation to go at least into the 8, if not, even into the top 4. Anything's possible. Melbourne went from, I think, 9th in 2020 to premiers in 2021. So we finished 9th last year. No reason why we can't do exactly the same thing.
Yep, I'm with Vince on that. Yeah, we've got all the pieces there, the pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Go, Vince.
No, that's all right, Chris. Keep going.
That's what I was just going to say. We've got the pieces of the puzzle here. We just now need to put it together. We need to put it together on the field with minimal injuries, and we can make sure that we can, have a serious tilt as compared to previous seasons.
Yeah. Well, look, I think as supporters, we're probably spooked. The reality is that we've copped that much heartbreak and disappointment and failed to live up to our expectations for so many years now that we're a little bit spooked as supporters, and we're always looking at the worst possible case scenario, which is understandable. But I think we should have a positive outlook and an optimistic mindset going into this season. And we should expect the team to at least make the 8. I don't think that there's any reason why any Carlton supporter shouldn't have that as a very firm expectation and be absolutely livid if we don't live up to that expectation. It's time to deliver. Enough talk. We need to deliver on the field. And no more excuses. It's time to get back into the 8. It's been 10 long years.
Rash, don't miss me.
Well, no, I totally agree with you, Vince. I think that, especially with the list that we have, I think that, there's some. I mean, where is our weakness? You tell me where the weakness is, except the ruck. I think that's
the only area that I thought there was a weakness. Yeah.
Maybe in the midfield we could probably beef up a little bit more, but that's about it. Maybe that's So
no, I think the midfield. I think we've got lots of midfielders now, Rash. I think if you really wanted to be nitpicky, you might say the high half forwards. Like we've got the small forwards like Motlop and Durden and Owies, those sorts of small forwards, but our high half forwards like Silvani and Jack Martin, those types, they need to probably deliver a little bit more, especially when it comes to kicking goals. But other than that, I think it's the ruck that's my major concern. Other than that, I think we've got an abundance of talent. I mean, we've got 2 Coleman medalists as our 2 key forward posts at centre-half forward and full forward in Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay. We've got pillars in the back line like Jacob Wiedering and Lewis Young, and now we've got backups like Mitch McGovern, Caleb Marchbank, etc., that can fill in those positions as well. So the defence is looking good. Hopefully, that structure can stay together for most of the season and see us into a final series for the first time in a decade. I'm actually very, very optimistic about our prospects this year.
Okay. So we're near the end of the hour. So Vince, what do you want to tell us about any non-football news? You're our resident golf, harness racing, tennis.
Yes. So where would you like to start? Well, I can tell you that last night we saw the final, a very exciting final of the BBL competition, the T20 cricket competition here in Australia, where the Perth Scorchers were looking like they were going to lose at home at one stage. They needed effectively 12 runs and over, or 2 runs a ball, with about, I think, probably with about 6 overs to go, something like that. Maybe even more than that, 8 overs to go. I think they needed 2 runs a ball. So they managed to get there. I don't know how they did it, but, geez, there was some exciting cricket played towards the end of that game. And lots of big sixes scored, including a young 19-year-old, I think he was. He came in and had to smack it all around the field, and he did exactly that and got him over the line. So,
Chris Beach, was it?
Yeah, basically,
no,
yeah.
Young,
I think his name's Connolly.
Cooper
Trying to remember. Cooper Connolly,
Cooper
that's
Connolly.
it. Number 8 with the blonde hair. He looks like one of those surfies down there in the Perth surfing beaches, but he can certainly play cricket. So the Perth Scorchers, the most successful franchise in the BBL, do it again. It's their 5th title in 12 seasons. That's an incredible record, really. So they beat the Brisbane Heat, who were very brave and very gallant in defeat. But that was the end of the BBL. Yep.
Oh, who cares?
Oh, shut up, Joe. You're asking me to report on all these other sports.
I'm joking with you.
I can tell you also. Well, last night I was down at Melton to watch the harness racing. We basically had our Melbourne Cup of harness racing, the Hunter Cup,
So you
and
were
that
the
was
one. You were the one.
won by a champion horse called Honolulu Bay, who's trained in the all-powerful Emma Stewart stable. So brilliant drive by David Moran. And in fact, Paul Sebastiani from the Jumper Punch, who I talk to about 3 times a week on his radio show on SEN, we discussed this, and he tipped that horse. So he's done very, very well for himself. Apart from that, we saw my team Everton and Chris Beech's team Everton finally come good after replacing our manager. And in his first game against the top team of the ladder, Arsenal, Everton won 1-0 last night. How was that, Beachy? Excited about that?
A result that was desperately needed, especially at home, as you say, against the ladder leaders, Arsenal. And now we get ready for the boys in red across the park. Exactly,
yes. Playing Liverpool in a Merseyside derby next week. That's Rocco. Well, I can tell you that Paul and Mars Sebastiani, they're all Arsenal supporters. So they'd be licking their wounds this morning because the lead at the top of the ladder has shrunk by about 3 points. So
City play tonight. Man City play tonight. So
yeah, well, I think you'll find that lead will shrink a little bit. But yes, for Everton supporters, we're still in the relegation zone, but we're certainly off to a good start with our new manager, Sean Dyche. I think that's how you pronounce his name, isn't it, Beachy? Dyche?
Yeah, Dyche or Dice or whatever it is. Roll with whatever we've got.
It's not Sean Dyke, is it?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not even sure, but I don't care.
Anyway, doesn't matter. So that's the EPL. It's all hotting up in the English Premier League. Apart from that, we've got some golf news where there's some Australians playing abroad in the AT&T tournament, the Pro-Am tournament at Pebble Beach over there in California. What a magnificent golf course. In fact, this tournament's played over 3 golf courses. Pebble Beach, Spyglass Hill, and also Monterey Beach, is it? I think they call it.
I'm not a golf fan. Me either.
So they actually play 1 round in each of those 3 courses for the first 3 days, and then they have a cut line. And then they play the final tournament back on Pebble Beach again. It's just a magnificent coastline along that Monterey Peninsula. And if you get a chance to watch it on Fox Sports or on KO, it really is worth a watch. Apart from that, we've also got a tournament in Saudi Arabia taking place. You'd be aware of this one, wouldn't you, Rash?
Sure, of course.
It's part of the Asian tour. And, of course, it's the Saudi Arabian International at the King Abdullah City, I think they call it. And some of the world's best players are over there, and there's some Aussies there playing, and some of them are right up there in the top of the leaderboard. Lucas Herbert is in fact at 11 under at the moment, 8 shots behind the leader, but he's in outright 4th position. So he's doing very, very well, as Mark Leishman. He's at 10 under in equal 6th. So some Aussies doing very, very well around the world in golf.
Nothing else? What about the Australian darts team?
They're pretty good, aren't they?
No.
We performing?
No, I don't know about darts. No. I don't mind watching it on. I don't mind watching it on Foxtel, but I don't really watch it and follow it.
Can I just ask a question? Because while you're wrapping up there on that,
Yeah.
I'd like to know who is the biggest improver for what you're predicting, like for the year. Like who are we expecting to be the biggest improver?
Carlton.
Yes.
Oh,
just I wanted to ask that question before.
That's a good question. I'll let you go first.
Nothing but the best from Bangkok.
Best.
I think.
Who are you expecting to take it next level?
Who do I want or who do I think will?
No.
I assume you're
Okay.
talking about the men's
I
team.
I think Jesse Motlop.
Okay.
I
So how
think
many
he'll
goals
be-
do you expect Jesse Motlop will kick this year, Joe? He's basically
87.
playing forward pocket. How many?
87 goals.
Oh,
No,
come on.
I think if he
He'll be a
kicks 40
Coleman medalist
goals,
twice over if he does that.
I think if he can kick 30 to 40 goals,
Yep.
that's a good effort.
My word. Is that a bit too much to
So-
expect out of a young 19-year-old in his second year of football?
I'm going to tell you something. I read the Herald Sun. He's training the house down. Do I need to say any more?
All right.
Right.
Jesse Motlop for Joe. What about you, Beachy?
I'm thinking.
The biggest improver.
I'm thinking Durden. I'm thinking
Really?
Durden.
Which one? Which one? Corey or Sam?
Corey.
Corey.
Yeah, I
Okay.
like the look of him. What I saw from him on the when he played, he's obviously got some room to work with. He was kicking some goals. Yeah. Sure. He might have made some mistakes late in crucial games, which obviously hurts results. But he's quick. He's got the ball, but when he has the ball, he's quick and he knows when to use it. That's my opinion on that one.
Vince, just
All
before
right.
you
What
get
about you,
yours,
Rash?
Well,
What
before
about
Rash
Rash? I
uses
wanna
his
know
last,
Rash's.
it says it's Jack Silvani. Surprise, surprise. John, is that Hollins and Dow or who's Cow? I don't know who Cow is.
It'll be down.
Lockie
Who?
Cowan.
Cowan.
I think he means love to see
Cowan.
both Hollins
Okay.
and Cowan. Lockie
Oh.
Cowan, the Tasmanian, who's
Okay, sorry.
going to be
Chief.
wearing
Okay,
number
cool, sorry.
26, I think he's wearing. Yeah.
And Gina, I don't think Cottrell will. He's still he's in a moon boot for at least another 6 weeks. So I don't know whether he'll come in. Anyway, Rash.
What I think is who I'd like to would be Jack Martin. I'd like to have a really big year from him because I think he can make a big difference in half forward. But I think Chera, I think Chera's going to have a big year. That's what I wouldn't be surprised in the center. Give him another year with us, and he's got potential. So that's what I'm hoping. I think he should have a good year.
You took the words out of my mouth, Rash.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. Bring back. Oh no, you can't bring back Below. He's dead, isn't he?
No, he's dead. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you.
The same choice.
Yeah, I am. My immediate thought went to Adam Chera because I thought, while he didn't have a bad season, he didn't have a season that was what you'd call a breakout season. I think he was a bit underwhelming last year. He had a couple of good games, but overall, I think he was, a little bit underwhelming is probably the word that would come to mind. So I'm looking forward to him really breaking out and having a top season as one of our key midfielders, especially in the absence of Sam Walsh. And no doubt there'll be other midfielders that have some moments where they're injured. And I think, Lana might be right. Jack Silvani, it's time for him to also have a season where he really stamps himself as a regular contributor. I'd like to see him kick a lot more goals.
I think he is, Vince. I think he is. He's regular. He's like, I think last year was his year.
I don't think so. No. I think you'll find that last year come round 20, he was dropped from the team, and that told me that Voss didn't see him as necessarily anything close to a permanent fixture in that side. So he needs to really contribute from day one to keep his position.
Got a good point, actually.
What about Mitch?
Yeah, well, he's got to come back from injury, and we both predict, Joe, that because it's the final year of his contract, that he's going to have a blinder.
Brownlow medalist.
Yeah, he could very well do that.
Is he injured, Mitch McGovern?
No, he was last year for the majority of the season, Rash.
Yeah, I know that. I'm saying this year. So, yeah.
No, his first couple of games last year. His first couple of games last year, he played in defence and really impressed. But then he got that injury, and he just didn't come back until maybe the last four games, maybe, I think, 3 or 4 games. So he needs to have a lot more time on the park, that's for sure.
Soft. Anyway, look, we've been going for about an hour. I got to get off this because I've got to prepare. I've got a student in 1 hour teaching English.
No one cares about that, Joe.
They do, because I can end the broadcast with one stroke of a mouse click.
That's compared
All right, let's do it.
Beachy knows that because he's also run this broadcast before. He knows I can hit that red end broadcast button and I can get rid of all of you.
Except me.
Well, let's do our
Except Rash,
traditional goodbye, a la the two Ronnies back in the 1970s on ABC TV.
Now,
Remember
before
them?
we do that,
Yeah.
last words, Chris Beach. Any last words?
No, nothing that probably hasn't already been said, but nonetheless, season's still ahead, and we want a season where we can actually something to be proud of.
No TV shows that we should be watching or movies
unless you like the look of Australian Survivor, which is on at the moment. Yeah, I'm not going to force anything down anyone's throats, but by all means.
No, not for me. Rash, last words.
I love Bangkok. That's it.
I've just received a text message. I've just received a text message from Paul Sebastiani informing me that he'll be on the air at 10 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time this evening until about 3 o'clock in the morning, and inviting me to come on and talk about all things harness racing, golf, cricket, you name it. So
you've already said it all, so you'll have nothing to say.
For those of you who haven't got the SEN app, get the SEN app and you'll hear it loud and clear, as Paul always tells us, or on your digital radio dial.
Don't start me on the SEN app, because I know he's not watching. Craig Hutchison, you are a flog. I have to pay $5. I have to pay $5 a month to listen to it. Being
that's because you're overseas.
Australia.
Get a VPN.
No, work doesn't work.
Come on, you've got plenty. Pay up.
No way, not to him. No, you do this.
Anyway,
Beatty.
What's your last words?
My last words is thank God Rash is going home on Tuesday. I must admit, I took Rash out. I took Rash out last night. I showed him the cultural side of Bangkok. You know, we did all the things that tourists do.
You mean the girly bars?
Yeah, basically. Can I say? Do you know what Rash said? I'll quote Rash.
Yeah.
He's just standing his mouth open. Don't you laugh, Beachy. Wait till you get here. You're going to get a tattoo. You're going to have lady boys. He's going to get the librarian tattooed on his forehead.
Mate, you're going to scar me. That's what you're going to do.
Can I also just quickly mention, Joe, before we finish up, that all Carlton voting members would have received an email during the week informing them that the club is having an annual general meeting for the 2022 season on Thursday, the 23rd of February, which is an absolute disgrace. I mean, if they had any decency, they would have had this meeting before Christmas like every other club. All of the books have been prepared for at least 3 months. And to not have the AGM until February, and it's only 3 weeks until the very first round, is nothing short of a stunt and a tactic to discourage anyone from nominating for the board or from challenging the board. And it ought to be exposed. And I think you'll find this year that it will be.
Okay, that's it. So
it's at the club.
On that
at least I'll give them one thing. At least they're having the meeting at the club where people can turn up and be in attendance. If they're not in attendance, they won't be able to ask a question online, even though it's being live streamed online. The only way they'll be able to do it is to send a question in via some email address. So
that's pretty
the voting members who
these
got the
days,
emails.
Nick.
Yeah, I understand that, but nevertheless, the meeting should have been held over 2 months ago.
That I agree with. Anyway,
need to prepare.
So guys, I got to get going. So listen, I'd like to thank Chris, the librarian, Beachy, for joining us. Even though it was only half the show, he's always entertaining.
Just doing my
Vince
best,
Golden
mate.
Tonsils Lochisano.
Golden toss.
They like that golden
I love
tonsils.
it.
DJ Rash next to me. He's got to go spin a few discs on the turntable. And I'd like to
Yep.
thank myself for being here.
I'm sure you
And,
will.
on that note, it's good night from me.
Me?
It's good night from me.
And it's a good night from all of them. Good night.
All right, then. See everyone next week.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.